So students, in the previous class I have given you this question to compare the order of reactivity for SN1 mechanism for the above question. So see this solution here. Here in the first case you have seen that after the first step, that is formation of carbocation, in the first case we are getting secondary allyl carbocation and Br minus is removed. In the second case we are getting tertiary carbocation. We are getting here tertiary carbocation. And in the last case we are getting here secondary carbocation. So as I have told you, the order of stability is secondary allyl carbocation is more stable than tertiary carbocation and then secondary carbocation. So the order of SN1 reaction will be A will be most reactive, then B and then C. Now the second question which I have given you was to compare the SN1 reaction in this example. So first one is given as tertiary butyl bromide, the second one is isopropyl bromide, and the third one is 2-methyl bromopropane, right? And it is also known as secondary butyl bromide, or no, sorry, isopropyl bromide, right? So see here how the reaction takes place. In the first one, that is in the case of tertiary butyl bromide, on the attack of solvent or water molecule, we are getting here tertiary carbocation, right? In the second case we are getting here secondary carbocation, right? And in the third case we are getting here primary carbocation. So if in the one chance you have to compare, you will say that tertiary is more stable than secondary and then primary. So the order should be, what should be the order? That it should be A should be more reactive than B then C, right? But here one more thing is happening, children. That is what? In the third case, though first of all it is primary carbocation is formed, but this primary carbocation, it will rearrange itself. Actually what happens when there is chances of rearrangement, then it rearranges, this carbocation rearranges in order to get stabilized. And what will happen from here, this hydrogen, it will shift here so that the tertiary carbocation will be formed, and then this tertiary carbocation will be attacked by OH minus to form the product, right? So this is how here hydride shift is forming. Now you can see that here, since here also tertiary carbocation is formed, so therefore this third one should be more reactive than the second one, because here tertiary carbocation is formed, here only secondary carbocation is formed. In the third case, after rearrangement we are getting 3-degree carbocation, right? Whereas in the second case we are getting secondary carbocation. So you can say that third should be more stable than first one. But students, as I have told you, that we have to compare the carbocations before rearrangement, not after rearrangement. So before rearrangement, since it is forming primary carbocation only, so we have to compare that. Hence the rate of reaction will be in the same order, that is A will be most reactive for SN1, then B, then C. So students, we will now start SN2 reaction. SN2 reaction means substitution, nucleophilic, bimolecular, right? S for substitution, N for nucleophilic, bimolecular, right? This reaction happens in the case when methyl chloride is attacked by sodium hydroxide aqueous or KOH aqueous in the presence of any polar aprotic solvent, then this reaction mechanism is followed, right? Methanol is formed and this reaction mechanism is followed. It occurs in single step. It's a bimolecular reaction, second order kinetics is followed, and here this reaction happens in the single step only. See here this methyl chloride. Now I have drawn here wedge and dash formula as we have studied in the first year. This bond is towards the observer, this is away from the observer, and these bonds are in the plane of the paper. So when this methyl chloride, it is attacked by the nucleophile. Now you can see that I have kept the nucleophile on this case. See students, in the first order reaction, that is in the SN1 reaction, we can attack the nucleophile from this side as well as from this side. But here in SN2 reaction, since already a nucleophile or halide ion is attached on this side, this incoming nucleophile cannot attack from this side, since it will be repelled by this nucleophile. So it has to attack from the other side. Now it attacks from the other side, and this reaction happens in the presence of polar aprotic solvent. Polarity is required because it has to weaken this bond, right? This CX bond has to be weakened up, therefore polar solvent is required. But we require here aprotic solvent, because since this bond, it will try to weaken this bond, it will not be broken, therefore no requirement is there to encircle this Cl- ion. In the SN1 reaction, what happens, since this bond is completely broken, so Cl- can further come and attack this carbocation formed. In order to prevent this, that protic solvent, it will surround, see here, I have shown here that Cl- once removed, this protic solvent with the help of its proton will surround this Cl- and will not allow it back to attack on the carbocation formed. But here it is not required, since it has not been removed. Therefore OH- will easily attack from the back side, right? So this reaction happens in the presence of polar aprotic solvent. And first of all, what will happen, this OH-, it will attack from the back side. Since it will attack from the back side, and here already this halogen is attached, so slowly this protic solvent, this polar solvent, it is breaking the bond, but it has not been broken completely. So this bond is getting weakened and this bond is getting formed. Here carbon will have 5 valency, you see, right? And due to this, it's an unstable state, or it is a transition state. Transition state, it remains for a very small period of time, say 10 raised to the power minus 6 seconds. Hence it cannot be isolated. And then what will happen, this halide ion will be removed and the bond between the nucleophile and the carbon will be formed to give the product. So it's a single step process, a slow process, and hence the product will be formed. Understood this? Now we will consider the characteristic of this SN2 reaction. Now in the characteristic of this SN2 reaction, as I have told you, that this reaction, it's a single step process. You see here no steps are there, no 2 steps are there as there were in the SN1 reaction. Only in the single step the reaction is proceeding. It is considered as a single step. The transition state is formed in the same step, so it is being happening in the one step. So it's a single step process, and this, since it's a single step, so it means that this step is only the rate determining step. Now see here how many molecules are participating in this rate determining step. In this rate determining step, 2 molecules. One is this alkyl halide and the other one is this nucleophile. So 2 molecules are participating, hence it's a bimolecular reaction, right? It's a bimolecular reaction. Now here the incoming nucleophile interact with alkyl halide, causing the CX bond, causing this CX bond to break, right? This CX bond is broken and this COH bond is formed, right? These 2 processes, they are occurring simultaneously, so in a single step. So no intermediate is formed here. The breaking of this bond, CX bond, the breaking of this CX bond and the making of the COH bond, see, both are occurring simultaneously. So no intermediate is formed, and what will happen, not only the transition state will be there, and it's a single step process. Now the third characteristic, first is single step process, which is a rate determining step. Second, it is a bimolecular. Now the rate of reaction, here the rate of reaction, it depends upon both alkyl halide as well as nucleophile, right? Or we can write rate is equal to K Rx ki power 1 nucleophile power 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So hence this is a second order reaction. It means if you are going to double the concentration of nucleophile as well as of the alkyl halide, so if you are doubling this, then it will become, the rate will become 4 times. Got it? So that is the third characteristic, that it's a second order reaction. Then come to the fourth characteristic. Since the rate depends upon nature of nucleophile, right, so it should be a strong nucleophile. If see, in the first case, one of you have asked that madam, in the class we have taken NaOH or KOH, but here you are taking water. We can take NaOH or KOH aqueous also, but that reaction can happen in the presence of water also. Means a weak nucleophile can undergo SN1 reaction, but in the case of SN2 reaction, we require a strong nucleophile, that is OH minus, NaOH, KOH aqueous. Why? Because it has to push apart this halide ion. So it should be strong enough that it can push this Cl minus outside and it can itself attach here. So the reaction can take place only in the presence of a strong nucleophile. Right. Then the fifth characteristic is that no formation of carbocation take place. Instead here transition state is formed. Right. Now in the transition state you can see this carbon is bonded to 5 atoms. Hence it is highly unstable and it remains for a very short period of time, and we cannot isolate this transition state. Now the reaction take place in the presence of polar aprotic solvent. Now this is very important, that what are the polar aprotic solvents? Polar aprotic solvents are those in which we have polarity present. Polarity is present, but we don't have proton donation power. Right, they don't donate the proton, and therefore they are known as polar protic solvents. These are some examples of polar aprotic solvents, such as this is acetone. Right, here see polarity is there because this CO bond is a polar bond, and further it cannot donate protons, so polar aprotic solvent. This is acetone. Now the second one, it is known as DMSO. DMSO means dimethyl sulfo oxide. Dimethyl sulfo oxide. Right. Now this one is also further polar aprotic, since this bond is polar bond. Then the last one is dimethyl formamide, and this one is also known as DMF, and it is also a polar aprotic solvent, since this CO bond is a polar bond. Even the CN bond is also a polar bond. Right. Now the next characteristic is that this reaction is highly exothermic. Why it is exothermic? Since this CO bond is stronger than the CX bond. Right. Hence the energy will be released in this case, and when the process is exothermic, it is always favored at low temperature. So this reaction as SN1 will be favored at low temperature. Now the next one is that here, since you can see that the halogen is attached on one side and the nucleophile is attacking from the back side, so when the product is formed, the nucleophile is attached on the reverse side where the halide has been attached. Right. So it here inversion of configuration will take place. It is also known as Walden inversion, because Walden is the scientist who have discovered this inversion. So it is in Walden inversion take place. Now since in the reaction the nucleophile approaches the carbon where already the halogen is attached, therefore if suppose the bulky groups are attached, see here the nucleophile is approaching this carbon where already this halogen is attached. Now if these groups are bulky, then they will hinder the attack of this nucleophile on the carbon. Hence this reaction will be preferred where this lighter groups are attached, such as in methyl halide. Since these groups are lighter, therefore nucleophile can come and easily attack this carbon. Right. If the bulky groups are attached, then it will be difficult for the nucleophile to come and attack them. Therefore this reaction is preferred most in the methyl halides, then primary, then secondary, and then tertiary.